Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy, and the Canadian people are ready to forgive Wayne Gretzky for having ties with Donald Trump. And Steve Bannon says the government should confiscate SpaceX in the name of national defense. Let's get into it. You're live with Nat and the Guy. This is our political show. We have a show in the afternoon at 12 Central where I do all pop culture. So if you're interested in pop culture, check that out. And I'm sure a lot of you just watched Nat's show
Yes,
on our other
thank
channel.
you for coming over. If you saw that there was another live starting on that channel, that's because I made a mistake. I was supposed to do it for this channel, so it's on this channel. But thank you for being here.
Okay, let's get right into it. I'm just going to check the sound while you bring up the article.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Okay. So, yes, forget about the past. Fans weigh in on criticism of Wayne Gretzky over Trump ties, of course.
Yeah, and Wayne Gretzky is really well positioned if he ever wanted to run for Prime Minister of Canada. He's almost guaranteed to get it. He is the most famous Canadian that ever has lived in modern times that's still alive. Now,
Funny enough, I remember the name, but when he asked me to look it up, I was like, who was that? What did he do?
You said, who do you want for the thumbnail? I said, Wayne Gretzky. She says, who's that? I said, the most famous Canadian of all time.
I'd heard his name. I'm not a hockey person, sorry.
And for the most part, he stayed pretty non-political. He's had allies on both sides of the aisle. He's well positioned with Trump. If he did take over now, the negotiations would have went a lot smoother. As we know, Canada is in a bad position. Canadian fans just have this absolute Trump derangement syndrome, so they kind of hold it against Gretzky because he has business ties with Trump and some of the other Trump family, but he has business ties all over. He has all kinds of businesses. He's really managed his career very well since retiring from hockey. He's coached the Olympic team. He's opened a wine company. He's really been very pro-Canada, so...
Didn't know that. So for me, this story is more about the national Canadian Trump derangement syndrome, which is mostly unjustified, but this is from the Canadian Press on CTV News. It says, it wasn't long ago that some Canadians were up in arms about hockey legend Wayne Gretzky's ties to U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. But as the Edmonton Oilers skate their way through the Stanley Stanley Cup final, God, hockey fans say it's time to let bygones be bygones. I don't think it matters, said Craig. His last name is really funny. Can I say that on YouTube?
No. Let's skip his last name. It's not of any importance in the story.
Craig H., a longtime Oilers fan, as he posed Wednesday for a photo with the statue of Gretzky outside Rogers Place in Edmonton. Let's forget about the past. What he did here was a lot for the city, a lot for hockey. And they vandalized the statue in March and smeared with what appeared to be and strongly smelled like feces.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky is the one person where if he was prime minister, I know he's not, but if he comes out with a statement saying, yes, I'm from Canada, I'm pro-Canada, Trump runs the United States, we have to work together. Traditionally, we've worked together. We need to come to the table for the best of both countries. That's the message that should have shined through in the last Canadian election, but it did not. They went right after Trump. They're making it Canada versus the U.S. Canada's going to come out on the losing end of that. It just benefits no Canadians. I would have liked to see an adult in the room, as they used to say with Biden. I hate that statement, but they needed somebody to really say, we need to work with the Americans.
And apparently they put a little fence up around the statue after he got stuff thrown at it. And the Great One was photographed with Trump several times at the president's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. In January, Gretzky and his wife, Janet, attended Trump's inauguration in Washington. Frustrations grew after he appeared as honorary captain for Canada at the Four Nations face-off final with the United States. Video footage showed him giving the U.S. team a thumbs up as he walked to the ice. He also congratulated Dallas Stars players in their locker room last month. Because, I mean, he's like this superstar. Like, now I remember who it is. He's the superstar.
Oh, now you remember.
He's the superstar hockey player. Well, of course, I mean, people are going to be happy if he goes to say hi at their locker rooms. Doesn't matter if they're American or Canadian.
Well, and this is the thing that sports really teaches you, and he's been ingrained in sports since a youth, and he went all the way on to coach Olympic teams at an international level. He really knows sportsmanship. He knows how to shake hands at the end of the game, even if there was fights. He knows how to treat the other players with respect, treat his own players with respect. He knows how to lead not only a team through coaching, but a team through playing, and he shows that same kind of graciousness when it comes to politics, countries, and other things in his life. He would make a great leader for Canada, at least I think so. I'm not even too aware of his politics because he keeps a low profile when it comes to making political statements and things like that. So,
yes, and I think sports does teach kids a lot.
His wife
that.
looks like, if that is his wife, I don't know if it is. She has a lot of surgery there.
And his wife, Janet Jones, yes.
Okay, let's go into the next story. And the next couple stories I actually got while you were on air. So this was Steve Bannon.
So this is coming from the New York Post, and I don't love the New York Post or Daily Mail, but when it's like breaking news, for some reason, they're always the first ones because they don't super verify everything. But Steve Bannon calls on Trump to deport Elon Musk and seize SpaceX. Strong belief that he is an illegal alien. And Bannon hasn't liked Musk for the longest time.
No, him and Musk are really at odds. Bannon is really leading the new populist right. He's the one that actually created MAGA, created the new populist right. I'll give a little bit of a history in case people don't know who Steve Bannon is in the recent context. In the recent context, he was searching for somebody for the Republican Party that would adopt populist values, his values. He kind of looked for empty vessels. He went to Sarah Palin. He went to, I believe it was Walter Cronkite at the time, and he asked him to be president. He did some polling, and then he asked Trump. He didn't think Trump was going to accept the offer. Trump ended up accepting the offer, and he actually adopted all of Steve Bannon's talking points, values. That's how Donald Trump kind of got to the value set he's at today. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. A lot of people forget this, but now he's on the populist right. Steve Bannon is the one that's kind of shaped, molded, and folded him. He's not as well connected to Trump now as he was in the first administration, but it's very interesting to really listen to Bannon when he goes after Musk. He really does not like Musk. He does not like a lot of the tech bros from the tech sector. He's very, very, very America first. So
that was a background.
Oh, if we got the sorry, is there a clip here? Because I was watching the clip earlier.
Yes, it's from the New York Post, so maybe they'll get mad at us.
And it might not be the exact point of
we are not intending copyright. We're just discussing the clip. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Let me try to change.
Okay, maybe there is no clip.
There is.
Claiming of the nation and the rejuvenation of the nation is Donald Trump. Without Trump coming down that escalator, folks, yes. I had a ringside seat, and I will tell you, it ain't the Elon Musk or they come and go all the time. They're a dime a dozen. Because it's about the sovereignty of the nation and sealing the border and shipping 13 million out of here. Let me change that. 13 million and one because Elon Musk is illegal and he's got to go too. Okay, you're going to ship these other people home. Let's start with the South Africans. Okay, and I got a couple other could go too, but he's illegal. Deport immediately.
Okay, that wasn't the clip I watched. The clip I watched was actually a lot better, and it's kind of one I want to focus our story on.
Do you want me to find it?
No, it's okay. We'll just talk about it real quick. He wants to seize SpaceX in the name of national defense, and there are laws on the book where the U.S. government could possibly do that. I wouldn't recommend it because Musk could just leave the country, go to China, go to Russia, and they would fund him to the tune of billions of dollars, and they would have the #1 space program.
Yes, so that is a kind of stupid point, but...
Yeah, and I don't agree with deporting Elon Musk. I might not like everything he does, but I also don't like everything Bannon says.
Or Trump does, even.
I did like the fact that the South Africans came in. Bannon didn't like it at all. Bannon is very hardline American first, so I'm very America first in the sense that I think every country should put their citizens first, and then if there's any room left over, then you should help out your immigrant population. And every country is going to have a bit of an immigrant population right now, especially in the West. You just can't overdo it because once things start collapsing for your actual citizens and the services they need to support themselves, there starts to be a backlash. Canada used to be a prime example of how you do immigration properly. Since 2021, they've just gone out of control, and it's the model of what you don't want to do.
This is before 2021.
No, but 2021 on the chart is when they
brought
start
in everybody.
$1 million a year.
During the dark times. And as we mentioned before, with this whole Elon Musk fight that's been happening, Elon Musk, Donald Trump fight that's been happening, until things actually happen, like the things that they're claiming might or might not happen, and the insults they've hurled at each other, until any of that doesn't actually materialize, if funding is taken away, if they cancel projects for real instead of just saying it, then might be able to say, okay, it's a real fight. But I still kind of continue to think that it's mostly being hyped up for like media to make everybody see them decouple, and then behind the scenes keep working.
But the rift between Bannon and Musk is actually real, and he's going to use this opportunity, even if it is a fake rift between Trump and Musk, to try to ostracize Musk to the MAGA base. Steve Bannon is really the center of the MAGA base. He runs a show called The War Room, and that's where a lot of the thought process, the think tank, comes from the modern populist right. Now we have an important question, so if you can read that.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
And I think it's from my morning show, actually.
Sorry. There we go. So Rafa says, hello, what do you think about a second-hand DJI Osmo Action for 5,000 Mexican pesos?
Yeah, I don't know so let's see
It's like 260 something.
10.
I did the conversion.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I just did the conversion before you.
So it's 250, you said?
260 something, yeah. 261.
Yeah, because I haven't bought action cameras in a while, I'm not sure, but I did after we were talking today, because a lot of the gear I own is a little bit older, but it works as good as the new stuff that came out. So I seen there was an Osmo, DJI Osmo Pocket 5 now. I own the 4, and the 4 works phenomenally. So is it a DJI Osmo Pocket 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 3?
He didn't say, he just said secondhand DJI Osmo Action. But there's a bunch of Action ones. I was trying to look it up while you were talking.
Yeah.
But there's multiple different prices. But if it is lower than you've seen it elsewhere, because right now I can't fully look into it, but if it's cheaper than you've seen it, the newer ones, or if it's not a newer one elsewhere, the older ones work pretty well.
Yeah, I would say the 4 works phenomenal. I still use that. The 5, there's not much change on it. Also, I'm going to say this. You may even want to use the 3, because I know you were talking earlier, and I believe you're going to use it for your motorcycle. You're probably going to mount it to your... Oh, bicycle.
Motorized bicycle.
Scooter, then.
Like
electric
those bicycles
scooter?
that have like electric bicycle.
Oh, electric bicycle. Okay. But you're going to mount it on your helmet, basically. It could fall off. It's going to be subject to the weather and things like that. So I wouldn't buy it new. I would say probably buy it used. If it's a 4 or a 3, it should be pretty good. I don't know the pricing on the action cameras right now, so I'm not sure how much they should cost.
That's what I was looking at, but there were so many different prices.
Yeah.
But yes, if it's older, they still work pretty
Also,
much.
you might want to ask around if you do have a lot of friends and things like that. See if anybody works at a store where they sell it, and if they do get a discount. That's how I bought a lot of my equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any friends anymore down here, so I'll be forced to pay full price when I do buy my next product. But yeah, one way to kind of get around it is seeing if your friends work at certain stores.
Yeah.
And that could
If you can
get
find
you a discount
somewhere. Or wait until there are discounts out there. There was just a bunch of sales here in Mexico. I don't know why, but I noticed it. So
Yeah, also, if you do end up buying it new, around Christmas time is the best time, because it's Boxing Day. Everything goes on sale. That's a long time from now, so...
El Buen Fin, etc. In
Yeah.
Spanish, it's El Buen Fin.
Okay. And if you do buy it used, just check it out.
Yes,
Wow.
make sure, press everything, look at the lens, look through the lens, look at the screens, touch everything that is supposed to be touchable, like buttons and stuff, so you are sure it works, because...
Okay, and
yes.
that question came, if anybody else is watching, that came from my morning show, Pop Culture Crisis. Oh, sorry.
What's on your brain?
Live with the guy, where I talk pop culture. I also talk production and equipment at the end of the show, kind of just
To
basically...
help people in case somebody wants to also start a show or start talking, because we think the more voices are out there, the better. So when we were trying to do it, a lot of creators weren't talking about what cameras they use and what microphones and what works, what doesn't. And then the ones that are mostly camera-focused channels, a lot of them get
Okay, let's
sponsors,
get in.
etc. So
let's get into
and
the
Pop
next.
Culture Crisis is a great show if you want to watch it. It's part of the Tim Pool Enterprises.
Let's get into the next story here, and this is Kash Patel, and this one just popped up as well. I haven't had a chance to watch the full Joe Rogan interview. He was on there today. I have heard reactions, and people are very disappointed. From what I'm hearing, I'm pretty disappointed as well. I'll wait to pass full judgment until I watch it, probably tomorrow. So.
And yeah, he wasn't on today. He was like a few days. They record not the same day.
Yeah, but it's aired today, so
yes,
it was today.
Is today. So FBI Director Kash Patel announces COVID breakthrough after seizing Anthony Fauci's phones and hard drives.
So this was the good news, and this was the highlight of it. But he also, I have to caveat that, yeah, he seized his hard drives and phones, but he said, oh, he may have already erased everything that was on there. So it's kind of like, prepare to be disappointed. He's really trying to get the heat off of himself. Joe Rogan really did question him about a lot of things with Epstein, and he just didn't have answers. He said, "Oh, I never heard that. Oh, I never heard that."
Especially because apparently I did watch one clip from the Joe Rogan show where it comes in Jamie, who's Joe Rogan's kind of assistant, says, "Oh, Elon and Trump are fighting on X," and then they read like the tweet or X from Elon where he's saying that Trump was connected to Epstein right in front of Kash, and then they kind of discuss it like right there live as soon as they hear it. So I think he was trying to avoid a lot of things to not put a foot in his mouth.
Yeah, but
it looked like he was trying to deflect a lot.
Even that being said, there is some well-known facts about Epstein, the Epstein case, and the Epstein when he passed away in jail. And Kash Patel is just trying to play completely dumb to the whole thing and said he's never heard that side of the story when it was actually in the New York Times. If it's in the New York Times and it's all over social media, and you ran on going after the deep state and uncovering these Epstein files, and you don't know some of the biggest stories around that case, it's just...
He said he didn't know it. Did he not know a specific detail about it?
No, he never heard that. Yeah.
The unaliving? That he unalived
Well,
himself?
him and Dan Bongino came out on Fox News. You've seen it. We reported on it. He said, oh, no, he actually did unalive himself. And when before, that was not the case. Okay, yeah, he's just continuously disappointed me, and I had high hopes for him. We should continue to put pressure on him through social media and other things. So if you see him on X or something else, just drop comments. They do read their comments. The Trump administration and the people in the Trump administration are highly sensitive to the base of their party on social media. This is how people were able to get Trump to change his stance on the jibby jab and other things like that.
Sort of change it. Do you want me to read into it or no?
You can read a little bit, yeah, just so the people can...
The people. The Trump administration has recovered a cell phone and hard drives used by Dr. Anthony Fauci during the COVID pen, blah, blah. The president's FBI chief has revealed. Speaking Thursday on the Joe Rogan Experience, FBI Director Kash Patel described the discovery as a great breakthrough in the government's ongoing investigation into the origins of the and the federal response. Patel said investigators had long struggled to locate the devices Fauci used while serving as chief medical advisor to the White House, records that could shed light on key decisions surrounding lockdowns, mask mandates, and ties between Fauci's former agency and the WUHAN, I don't want to say the word, laboratory central to the lab leak theory.
Okay, and we can move on to the next story, which was a breaking story as well. So there was a lot of breaking stories today.
Because every time it's Friday, they try to wait either Friday or the weekend so people aren't fully tuned in to things.
Maybe let's prime this story a little bit. So this was the gentleman that was deported, suspected to be in MS-13, and he was deported to El Salvador, and put into prison down there. The Democrats went down there protesting. Multiple Democratic representatives went down there. It made news. It didn't look good because he was an active MS-13 gang member.
Allegedly.
The Trump administration said nothing about it, and now all of a sudden they kind of quietly brought him back, threw him in jail, and are charging him with, supposedly it's either hundreds or thousands of migrants he smuggled into the country. So he's going to be charged on this. If he's convicted, he'll do his time probably in the United States and then be deported back to El Salvador.
Because all the Democrats were crying and doing this whole big show about, oh, he was deported, unjustified, like there was no justification, and we have to go back, we have to get him back. Well, now he's back, and now he's actually facing charges. So, like, Le salió el tiro por la culata, as we would say in Spanish.
This has a lot of political implications. Let's not kid ourselves here. The Democrats really made this a political situation. This is Trump's response to their squawking. Okay, and read a little bit of the article, though.
So, Gilmar Abrego Garcia has been returned to the United States to face criminal charges. This is from CNN, so we'll see what they say. But Gilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March, has been returned to the United States to face federal criminal charges, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Friday. For months, the Trump administration has been locked in an intense standoff with the federal judiciary over court orders for the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return from El Salvador, where he was mistakenly deported mid-March in a situation that one federal judge warned could present an incipient crisis between the two branches. Abrego Garcia has been indicted on 2 criminal counts in the Middle District of Tennessee: conspiracy to unlawfully transport illegal aliens for financial gain and unlawful transportation of illegal aliens for financial gain. The indictment, unsealed Friday afternoon, accuses Abrego Garcia and others of partaking in a conspiracy in recent years in which they knowingly and unlawfully did this. That had no authorization to be present in the United States, and many of whom were MS-13 members and associates.
He's being accused with smuggling literally thousands of migrants across the border. So, he could face a lot of time for that. We'll see what happens, but I'm guarantee you this will continue to be in the news. Even if the Democrats don't want it in the news, the Trump administration is going to throw it in their face.
Because now, I mean, they can use it as a case to show everybody else. What's that called? As an example,
As an example, and set precedent as well. So, going back to the action cam really quick, I'm going to look it up over the weekend and I'll talk about it on Monday, because then I'll get refamiliarized with the pricing and things like that. So, okay, let's go into the next story we have here. And this one was also the Trump administration.
My computer. So this is from Reuters. Trump reinstates U.S. travel bans, bars citizens of 12 countries. People are up in arms again about this.
I'll just list off the countries, and then you can read the article here. So the 12 countries, there's the primary countries, and then there's partial restrictions on a number of secondary countries. So we have Iran, Afghanistan, Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, how do I say this?
Eritrea.
I've never heard of that country. Congo, Chad, Haiti, Bermuda.
Burma. Not Bermuda, Burma.
Burma. And what's the last one? Ghana.
Equatorial Guinea. Partial restrictions are also in place for Venezuela, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Burundi, Togo, and Turkmenistan.
I don't have a problem with having restrictions on a lot of those countries. So let's read why he's putting restrictions. And let's just not forget, Obama did very similar restrictions during his administration.
But they never mentioned those.
No.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation on Wednesday banning the citizens of 12 countries from entering the United States, saying the move was needed to protect against foreign bad people and other security threats. The directive is part of an immigration crackdown Trump launched this year, which included deporting people. The countries affected are the ones you just listed off, and the entry of people from 7 other countries will be partially restricted. Said, "We will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm," Trump said on a video posted on X. He said the list could be revised and new countries could be added. We do know here in Mexico they're really going after visas, and also a lot of party members from Morena are being investigated, as well as a lot of singers with ties to bad people. The proclamation is effective on June 9th, 2025. Visas issued before that date will not be revoked, the order said. I'm guessing because they already checked them. The African Union's Commission expressed concern on Thursday about the potential negative impact of the new travel ban on educational exchanges, commercial engagement, and broader diplomatic relations. In retaliation, Chad's President Idris Deby instructed his government to stop issuing visas to U.S. citizens. Congo's Republic government spokesperson Thierry Mungala.
And when we were going to immigrate from Canada to Mexico, I was watching a lot of channels about getting passports, getting visas, and things like this. And the United States is not necessarily the best passport to have anymore because a lot of countries, even before Trump got in there, there are restrictions against Americans going into certain countries. Canada is a much more open visa, even though I personally don't like Canada. They do have good relations with a lot of countries, so it's a very strong passport.
Yes, well, because they won.
Yeah, but as Trump strengthens his restrictions and his deportations and things like this, a lot of countries are going to get angry with this and probably put restrictions on U.S. citizens. And there is a lot of backlash on U.S. citizens when they do travel. Mm-hmm. So a lot of U.S. People, when they travel, put Canadian flags on their bags and things like that.
Yes. And also, if we remember, during his first term, from 2017 to 2021, Trump announced the ban on travelers from 7 Muslim-majority nations, a policy that went through several iterations before it was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018, and a lot of people made a lot of noise about that as well.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on now.
Okay.
And we're going to start going into some Canadian news now. It was kind of front-loaded with a bunch of American. Actually, when I was gathering the stories for today, it was a lot of Canadian news, actually. And later on in the day, the American news started rolling in like big headlines. There was actually more big headlines I didn't put in there because I just didn't have a chance to research it. The Epstein list was supposedly released, but it was released in the UK, which is odd, and it didn't make big headlines. So I would just want to wait for a little bit of confirmation and things like this.
For Monday. And that way we have a lot of things to talk about on Monday because they like to release very important things Friday, late evening, or during the weekend. Rafa also says, will there be a VIP live today? So
yeah.
He's referring to RUMBLE. And yes, we will go over there.
We actually have quite a few stories, 2, 4,
for RUMBLE.
6. Yeah, 6 stories on RUMBLE, which is a lot of stories.
But now we'll go to Canadian immigrants.
Yeah, we usually do 2 to 4 over there, so.
Yeah. So now we'll go to Canada and immigration and what an immigrant thinks about what's happening.
Oh, yeah, this was a great little clip. I forgot I put this in here today. And this gentleman's obviously from, I believe he was from the Caribbean, but I worked with a ton of immigrants when I was in Canada, and this is their sentiment.
And I am one, and that was probably my sentiment too. So.
Now, female immigrants wouldn't speak as frankly, but every single male immigrant I talked to had the exact same sentiments as him. I talked to him about much more undefined subjects. He's really focused on Canada losing their national identity, but immigrants, especially Indian immigrants, are extremely disappointed in the lie they were sold when they immigrated to Canada.
I'm a female immigrant. I have a show where I talk about things like this. So yes, female immigrants to Canada that now have gone back do speak about these things. So this is from Contrarian Tribe. Immigrant says Canada is
losing...
Yeah,
but you're a feminist.
Culture really fast. He means anti-feminist. He just doesn't like that. Sometimes I am his wife.
Continue. Let's quit bragging about how
Canada
Shut up.
is losing its culture really fast, and this is coming from an immigrant. A lot of people are not going to like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. As an immigrant myself, I say this with a lot of respect. Your job is to support the country, not change it. You left your home country for a certain reason. Now you're abroad into a different country. Your job is to adapt within the system. Your job is to speak the language. Your job is to understand the system, not overriding it with your own personal value or your own personal belief. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because that there's a video circulating in Quebec regarding international students protesting in universities stating that the French-speaking class must change. They must be taught in English. Do you understand how stupid that is? You chose to go to Quebec. You chose to go to a place where the majority of the people there, they speak French. So why are you there trying to change the rules? And that's just the tip of the iceberg among so many other things that is currently happening in this country. Now you have people that are complaining, stating that in order for them to get a job, they must speak Punjab or Chinese or Taiwanese or something, where this country national language is French and English.
Yeah,
Canada.
And we can talk about a little bit about that. I don't think I put some of those clips in, but they're requiring you to speak Punjab, and they only want to hire Punjabi people at a lot of these jobs now.
And also, I mean, it's supposed to not be legal, but there's a lot of people that are immigrants. They set up their businesses, and then they only want to hire people
But
that
they're openly advertising this,
advertising it,
which
yes.
is actually against the law, but nobody's, I guess it's not really a law if the government's not prosecuting it.
No, the government is even so for job applications where you need to have a specific employer to be able to go to the country and that they will sponsor you. Usually those employers used to be, English speaking Canadian businesses that were looking for workers because they, couldn't find them in Canada. Now what they've been finding in a lot of these applications and from the employers and the people that want to be employed is that they're kind of know each other from before. They're from back in the country, and the people that are the employers are looking specifically for their language and their people, and that used to not be allowed within the Canadian immigration system, but now they actually do allow it, which is crazy.
That was really long-winded. I didn't really understand what you said.
Yes, you did.
No.
Yes. So
Say it simple.
employers are now wanting to hire migrants that they knew from before from back home.
Yeah.
And they're saying they need those specific people that speak only that language instead of what the actual thing should be, that they should accept any immigrant if they're going into these programs.
And that's also just a lot of people aren't from Canada and they might not know the second language in Canada is French. Specifically, Quebec is a large portion of Canada. Quebec has a lot of special privileges and rights because they almost separated from Canada. So they were able to negotiate special terms. But when there has to be French signs in French Canada, people that immigrate to Quebec or French Canada are required to learn the language by law. Mm-hmm. The government assists with classes and things like this, but they are very strict on learning French in that specific region of Canada. Okay, let's go into the next story here. And this is the York Regional Police. And this video is crazy. And this is going on not just in Canadian police departments, but especially Canadian police departments. Why aren't they fighting crime? Why are they making everything political? A lot of people don't agree with the things they're doing, and they're making themselves look weak overall.
Well, when was it? 2 years ago, I had a story in the Spanish channel now in English about the migrant officers who paused work for 3 hours to go watch drag queens dance around.
Did you get both clips?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
To go watch drag queens dance around in their workplace. They stopped working for 3 hours.
And they're doing it again.
Yes. If there's music, I'm going to silence it. So let me check.
Pause it. Yeah. Oh, good. And this is the police department. Oh, pause it. No, rewind it.
Where?
So, okay, now pause it. The guy in the turban there's all kinds of special privileges if you have a turban in Canada. And I can't remember if I've talked about this, but if you have a motorcycle, I used to have a motorcycle, and you have to wear a helmet unless you're Punjabi and you wear a turban. If you have a turban, no need for a helmet, which is insane because the helmet's supposed to be able to protect you. If you don't want to protect everybody, it needs to be the same rule across the board.
Yes.
Okay. And this is just seems like a humiliation ritual of diversity and feminization. What the hell is that? I'm surprised they're not
That's Canada.
I'm surprised they're not twerking on stage at this point.
No, they can invite Meghan Markle.
Let's play the next clip. It goes right along with this first one.
So this is similar to what I spoke about.
And I believe, was this the same?
Yes, York Regional Police. So same ones, drag queen.
One moment.
It's Friday. She can hear a lot of people outside.
Okay, let's go with it again.
And this is essentially the same kind of clip that I played when I spoke about 2 years ago with the immigration officers. The CBSA officers were doing the exact same thing because pride.
And all the government buildings and things like that in Canada have pride flags.
Yeah.
They're trying to mandatorily put them up at Christian and Catholic schools. I believe we reported on that a little bit. There is a big battle at one specific Catholic school that's refusing to do it. Most of the other ones have already bent the knee, which is crazy to think.
Yes. And they also have special lessons and all of Pride season, because once again in Canada, it's not Pride week, day, month, it's Pride season, so all of summer is covered in rainbows, progressive pride flags, and ridiculousness. And during that time, before kids go out for summer break, they also do a lot of activities at school about it.
Yeah. And
I used to work at two high schools. That's how I know.
And I seen this next little kind of meme on X, and I thought I'd just bring it up because it could start a conversation here.
So it says, imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women that this is oppressive.
Yeah, and this is what the traditional family used to be: 2 to 3 kids, a husband and a husband. Now what's going on
Husband
is
and a husband?
the government wants to replace the husband and become the husband, and that's what females are looking like. The government's never going to put a woman first like a husband's going to put their wife. So he's going to be the protector of the family. He's going to provide with everything he has within him. The government is going to just go based upon laws, rules, things like that. And if you're on the wrong side of it, then you're on the wrong side of it.
And it did take quite a lot of propaganda, but I mean, we've been at this since essentially the 50s, 60s with this specific type of propaganda. Feminism started way before then. Eventually will do my whole feminism history series. But it started pretty early on, and then it just kept growing stronger and stronger and stronger. And then women that weren't happy with that, with having to go to work, were completely silenced. Their opinions were not allowed in women's magazines, for example. There's whole bibliographies about women that were trying to speak up at the time to tell women there's another option. You don't have to, career isn't everything. They were silenced. A lot of magazines wouldn't let those kinds of opinions break through, and magazines used to be one of the main information sources for women. And since then, it's gotten way worse.
Well, and then these kids here, as a woman grows older, if she has kids, she takes on the role of the matriarchy, and it gives the matriarch, and it gives you real purpose later in life because you're going to help really teach those kids and provide wisdom. And
as a man as well, it's not just female focused.
As these feminists age out, especially the ones that haven't had kids and they only have cats, they're going to really lack purpose in life, and it's going to be pretty sad to watch.
Well, their purpose becomes to their company or whatever their career was. But and isn't that also working for the patriarchy, but even worse?
The economy's falling apart in a lot of these feminist societies, so a lot of them don't have companies. A lot of them aren't having the opportunities. AI is coming in and taking a lot of the jobs that women would typically provide. Mm-hmm. Men's jobs are a lot more secure, especially when they're based around physicality, because the robots can't quite do those jobs yet.
Eventually, but it's just...
But even as the robots do those jobs, the robot costs a lot of money. The repairs, the upkeep on the robot costs a lot of money. So even once the robots come, it still may be a lot cheaper to hire an actual individual. Well, women's jobs are going to be taken almost instantaneously because a lot of it doesn't need an in-person robot. It can be done through AI, so an online computer.
And also the lies that women have been told and continue to be told about, for example, their own fertility, their own biology, the fact that we don't even know what a woman is anymore. That's kind of changing now. But also, for example, a lot of young girls don't know that their fertility starts declining, not at 40, but at 27 is when the big fall off starts to happen. And even myself, I didn't know that way back then. If not, I would have made a bigger effort to, get my life moving on the direction I wanted it to. But because they keep being told these lies, abortion keeps being an option, very easy option. And then they get told, well, if we're 40 and then you want to have a kid, you can do IVF, you can do, surrogacy, you can get another woman to get pregnant for you and then give birth to your child.
Let's fire through these last 4 stories because we got quite a few stuff on Rumble even after these 4 stories.
Rafa says about the York police, who would think that authorities would switch from punishing degeneracy to enforcing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Canada, essentially. Oh. And speaking of Canada...
and they really are enforcing it because if you don't use somebody's pronouns with compelled speech, they will arrest you.
Yes. They've implemented compelled speech and then throw you in front of a human rights tribunal in Canada where you can't defend yourself. So this is from CBC, state-sponsored media, but still they're saying that Canada's unemployment rate ticks up to 7% in May, highest in 9 years outside of the bad times.
And this is with major statistical manipulation by the Canadian government.
Yes.
I watch a ton of independent Canadian media and people that really are sleuths within the Canadian government. And the manipulation they have done specifically to the unemployment numbers, I would expect it to be more like 13 to 14% actually.
And hold on, I was going to read. So yes, Canada's unemployment rate rose to 7% in May, the highest it's been in 9 years. Statistics Canada said on Friday. In its latest labor force survey, the data agency said the unemployment rate has risen to its highest level since 2016, with the exception of the high job loss rates seen during 2020 and 2021. There has been virtually no unemployment growth since January after strong gains in the fall. Statistics Canada added the economy added just 8,800 jobs during the month, showing little change from April.
And there's no reason to have any unemployment in specifically Canada, the United States, or Western countries. Why is if somebody's able-bodied and able to work, they should have a job. The reason they don't is because they're flooding the country with immigrants. Once everybody has a job, then allow immigration in. Like the population is actually decreasing. If the population's decreasing, there should be jobs for everybody. Yet there isn't, because they're being flooded with migration that they don't actually need. They're trying to artificially inflate the GDP numbers within the country.
And then they keep promising the new immigrants that they're inviting in that they'll have all these opportunities and it'll be great. And then when you get there, it's not there. You don't have anywhere to live. You can't afford to eat even. So,
and a lot of these numbers are being manipulated. If you're wondering how, employers are hiring part-time employees to do full-time jobs so they don't have to pay benefits. So everybody has 2 and 3 part-time jobs. And yeah, one job isn't enough to actually support yourself in Canada anymore. So
I'm looking for the next thing, so I forgot to grab it.
Okay. The next thing is going to be Mark Carney responds to latest data, which indicates 15 billion in trade decline. So this is it, yeah.
This is from Mark Nixon. So yes, Mark Carney responded to the latest data. He says his plan is working. This is the only data set. This is only one data set. Don't look too deep into it.
And let's remember, this is the Prime Minister of Canada, basically the president, and he's refusing to release a budget, even though Parliament is demanding it. He's just refusing to release it.
Oh, sorry. That's from earlier.
He doesn't want to release it because he's going to have to put things in there and he's going to have to show the public what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. And it's scary what's going on in Canada right now.
Yep.
On the trade data, $15 billion of exports just went out the window kind of thing. Chamber's quite worried.
Look, the global economy is slowing. We all know that. And that has implications for Canada. We're a trading nation. The core strategy of this government is to diversify our economy, build our economy at home. You don't want to make too much of one piece of data, but there's lots of indicators underneath that the strategy that we're pursuing to build the Canadian economy, to be masters in our own home, to have one Canadian economy out of 13, to diversify our trading partners. That's the right strategy for Canada. Thanks very much.
And this is going to come back to really bite him because he's saying that, it would have worked with this controlled collapse the West was kind of propagating. Problem is, Donald Trump's trying to go against the grain here. If the U.S. economy continues to stay strong or even grow, it makes Canada look extremely weak. And he can't say the global economy is collapsing because your number one neighbor that's connected to you, your number one trading partner, their economy seems to be doing fine. The Canadian economy, I would expect to collapse within the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. And we do have some comments.
Okay.
So Walker says, hey guys. Hi, Walker. Is it true that Canada has stopped publishing people being ended figures because they have been going up for the past 5 years? We reported recently on the rate of unalivings in Canada.
Yeah, but it's also they like to manipulate statistics in Canada a lot, whether it's GDP, immigration, any unemployment rates, anything. And they have what's called the MAID program. We talk about it quite a lot in here. It's medical assisted
assistance. But this is about people ending other people. What he's asking. I just can't say that word.
Oh, homicide rates.
Yes, I was trying to avoid the word.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't doubt it if they did. But also, in Mexico, they're really manipulating those statistics right now. The current government is they're doing it in conjunction with the UN. I was reading an article about this the other day, and it seems like they want to project appropriate statistics to the United States because of this tariff thing that's going on, and they're really focused on organized individuals, organized crime individuals, and things like this. So they're classifying Class 1 homicides as manslaughter and things like this. So they're trying to downgrade the classification in Mexico to the tune of hundreds of thousands. Mm-hmm. So if they're doing it in Mexico, I would assume they're doing it in Canada.
And we did report about the rising rates of unalivings by others in Canada recently, and those were like figures that they themselves said. So the figure is usually probably a lot higher. And then Rafa says, Guy, how did you manage to have so many jobs at the same time?
Yeah, well, I always had quite a few jobs. I grew up very, very poor. I was actually going to tell this story on the pop culture thing on Monday, but maybe I'll do it now. I grew up extremely poor. My mother was on welfare. We lived in a small one-bedroom apartment. There's like holes in the roofs. We had very little food, but that's why I really got a passion for movies. Movies was my escape, and I think a lot of people that are very poor, movies kind of act as an escape. In different times in my life when I was really fell on hard times and things like this, I would spend my last few dollars to go to the cinema and just escape life for a couple hours, and that's what the cinema really used to provide. It's a shame over the last 10 years how horrible movies have become. And I was just thinking today, like, I talk a lot about pop culture and movies, and I really do want to like movies. It's just hard to like movies in this era. So anytime there is a movie that I potentially like, I do like to talk about it a lot. And this is why I like to do a lot of things about pop culture, trailers, movies, and things like that. But because I grew up so poor, I've always had multiple jobs. I started working at a young age, and I would always have a day job, a night job. My night job usually was like security at a nightclub or a bar. And my day job was either teaching jiu-jitsu or doing construction. Sometimes I would do construction in the day, then go teach jiu-jitsu, and then go to the bar at night to do bouncing. So I've always had quite a few jobs. My bouncing jobs were very interesting because I worked in Vancouver, and Vancouver was a great place to bounce because you had a lot of corporate headquarters there. So different presidents of different companies would come into the bar, and then they would see me. I would get to talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, do you want a job in mining? It pays quite a bit." I was like, "I don't have any experience there." "Oh, no, we'll teach you." So then I got to try underground mining. Same thing for oil work in the oil patch in Canada. So I would meet different people while I was bouncing, and they would offer me different jobs I had no business kind of being in, but I got to try them out and have good experience. Those oil jobs and those mining jobs were interesting because I could do them for a couple months, make a bunch of money, and then come back to my bouncing job. So it wasn't like I had to permanently leave my jobs. It was great.
And also then after, for example, like once we were together and stuff, when we worked in the film industry or even before that, like neither of us drink, neither of us really go out. So also during the weekends, like you used to have jobs on Saturdays and Sundays as well. And then throughout the week, working in the film industry, 12 plus hours. Same for me. And then I used to, for a while, I was working retail. I worked at a restaurant, and I also worked at high school. I was doing all three. Then I worked at a university as well, just like front desk stuff, getting as much money as we could. And then like during those long shoot hours, also trying to edit. That's when the channel also started.
I was working a lot of jobs, but when I wasn't forced to work, and have 4 jobs that I kind of hated, and I was actually doing things that I like bouncing at nighttime at a bar. It's very social. It's kind of relaxing. It's fun. And then teaching jiu-jitsu or MMA was kind of like a release. I was going to do that anyway. So it just allowed me to exercise, teach, and it didn't really feel like work. And then in the morning, what was I saying I was doing in the morning there? I had so many different jobs.
Yeah, well, for a while you were working at a
construction
photo
and
lab,
stuff like that.
Film.
Yeah, so if I was doing construction, it was just a good workout in the day, and then I wouldn't have to go to the gym and stuff like that.
And then photography also, we got jobs in that, so we could just
doing stuff that you like or even if you don't like that particular job, but it's in the field where it's teaching you things you like. Yeah. It's really the best way. But by the time we actually had to leave Canada after the jibby jab era, because all my jobs were threatening to fire me because I just refused to get it outright, I had to have 4 jobs, and I had to take like minimum wage jobs. I was working 110 hours a week, 24 hours every Friday. I mean, I hated my life. But before that, I could work 3 jobs easily because I picked jobs that I liked.
And it wasn't like some of them part-time, some of them
Oh, no.
were
When I said I
full-time.
had like 3 or 4 jobs, it was I had a Monday through Friday job. I had my Monday through Friday jobs, then my Friday, Saturday job. And then
Your Sunday job.
My Sunday job was working at a photo lab so I can get a discount.
Yeah, to buy cameras. But yes, essentially that way. And same for me.
What are they-
And then Walker says, although I never worked construction and stuff, I did work cleaning houses for a while in Canada. And also in Canada, we were talking about...
Typical Mexican job.
Because I would come and we would speak Spanish with other Mexicans, because it was a Mexican-owned company also. And we would come and speak Spanish, and they were like, oh, why does she speak Spanish? Why is she doing like house cleaning? And I was like, because I need a job.
Why don't you clean the house now?
I do, because I'm editing most of the time or doing research. But yes, and working with kids, high schools, etc. I've also, like, now that I think about it, if I had stayed in Mexico, I feel like I would have had like 1 or 2 jobs throughout my life, because that's kind of still what used to be when I left, at least, the kind of lifestyle you would get here. In Canada, speaking about like jobs and the no job opportunities, that's kind of what you have to do anyways. Like, I don't really know anyone that only has 1 job in Canada.
No.
Which here, I think it still sounds crazy for people to think, oh, you have more than 1 job, but I had 2 and 3 as well at some point. I would work overnight at a high school that sometimes had kids that would stay over and sleep because that was a program. And I would do that, and then I'd wake up in the morning, and then I'd go to another job, retail, and then I also did house cleaning, and I did a bunch of other things as well in the film industry.
The States was more reasonable because I lived in the States for quite a long time, and I most of the time I only needed 1 job there.
Yeah.
The cost of living is lower,
Yeah.
the pay is higher, the general expenses month to month is better. It's more aligned for the general public, and you can see that even in housing prices.
Except in specific cities, but that usually always get talked about.
No,
But in normal cities in the States, it's...
Even in specific cities, if you want to buy a house, you're looking at
But I'm saying like New York, LA.
even in LA. That's what I'm saying. Like if you look at Canada's housing prices, we're looking
Yes.
at a 1-bedroom apartment for $1 million. It's crazy. In LA, you're paying $400,000 for a full house with a property, which that's a lot for Americans because they don't know the context of the Canadian economy.
Yeah, and that's like not even in downtown, like a Canadian apartment. That would be like way out there in Squamish or some other little town that's just now developing because all the millennials that can't afford to go anywhere went there, and now housing prices also went up.
Let's read the other comments.
Yes, that's what I was going to do. Walker says, I understand it's like that woke system has taken away one of your sources of stress relief, the movies and music, and essentially anything that was entertainment, that now they use as a vehicle for ideology.
The movie industry, when I was growing up, knew it was a form of escapism. People could leave their job or leave their regular life, leave their stresses, whether they're fighting with their wife or having problems with their kid, or work was coming down on them hard, or maybe they lost their job, something was going bad. You can go to the movies and just escape that and forget it for a little while.
But also
and now the movies, you're going there, and it's putting more stress on you.
Yeah. But also in the positive sense too, like date night, stuff like that. Like people used to go to the movies, bring their kids. I used to go to the movies a lot when I was younger here, just to do something, and now kids don't do that anymore. And Rafa says, well, you're both awesome. And I want to reiterate, these jobs were like minimum wage jobs. They weren't like these huge paychecks. We were doing all this money. It was more the necessity at the time in Canada.
Okay, let's go into the next story, and it is a clip. So...
Hold on. There. Benny Johnson, masterclass. Scott Jennings, he's on CNN. He is always shutting people
let's
up.
kind of set this up a little bit. They're going to talk about Medicare, Medicare for illegal immigrants. Now, I think immigrants should have Medicare. That they pay into the system. If they're legal, they should have it, and they do. It's the illegal immigrants. You can't expect to fund all of them and still have money left over for your regular citizens. The medical system in the United States is collapsing financially because there have too many illegal immigrants that are using the system for free.
Everyone deserves health care.
Even illegals?
Every single person in the world deserves
Just for the
healthcare.
record, as a candidate, you're for illegal aliens getting Medicaid.
I think everyone in the world deserves
That's a
healthcare.
yes. That's a yes.
Pause it. Everyone in the world deserves Medicare. Yeah, we all agree. We can all agree with that. But who's going to pay for that? And if they could, they would say the Americans should pay for everybody worldwide to have Medicaid. But they're going to stop at healthcare. They're going to stop at the illegal immigrants in the country. It's time for them to get their shit together. Start putting American immigrants first. And if they fall apart, the Western world's going to fall apart. So they need to stop paying for people that are not in the country legally. And also, because it's important that they actually save their medical system.
But also all of these socialists or Bernie Sanders, people like this, are always, everybody deserves free healthcare. Everybody should have healthcare. Yeah, of course, but who's paying for it? In Canada, they say it's free. Number one, it's not free. It's paid through skyrocketing taxes. It doesn't let you live like a normal person would anywhere else in the world. But also, like, who pays for the doctors? Who pays for the research? Who pays for the medical infrastructure? Like, that all has to come out of somewhere.
Well,
you can magic up.
If the Americans did want a socialized medicine system, they could have potentially did it if they hadn't been paying for illegal immigration all these years. It's a huge drain on the system, and they would have a lot more money to go around to restructure the system and actually offer a level of free care to every single American system. But if you want to offer free health care to every single citizen, you're going to have a hard line and say, if you're not a citizen, we can't actually support you, because then you can't make a proper medical system.
And a lot of these socialized healthcare countries that do socialized healthcare, like Canada, like the UK, their systems are falling apart as well. And again, it's being paid through taxes. Every time somebody says, we want this, free that, people have rights to have this and that.
You can't pay for the whole world.
You can't pay for the whole world, but also, like, money has to come from somewhere. Doctors have to get paid somehow.
Okay, let's continue.
That's a democratic position.
It is a yes, but
it's a democratic position. Illegal aliens should get Medicaid.
But I mean,
How is it controversial?
How is it controversial?
How is it controversial that they don't want someone to die in the hospital because they can't afford it?
Who do you think pays for health care when undocumented people show up at a hospital? Who pays for that?
We all pay for it.
Exactly.
Including
we all
undocumented
pay
people,
for
because
it.
they actually contribute.
That's the point. That's the point.
We do realize that undocumented
Who pays for the welfare system in this country generally? Taxpayers.
Are you for it or not? Can I start my logic train?
Are you for it?
My logic train starts with the fact that I don't want to kick 11 million people off of Medicaid.
Do you want the illegal aliens on or not?
First of all, do I want undocumented citizens to have health care? The answer is
I want undocumented citizens. They're undocumented citizens.
That's an oxymoron. You're either undocumented or you're a citizen.
Illegal immigrant that's going to be a drain on the system. America allows the most illegal immigration of any country in the world, and I'm willing to bet they would let even more if they could stop the flow of illegal immigrants. I'm expecting that they're trying to fix the system right now, really having a hard line on illegal immigration, and they're going to figure out how many legal immigrants they actually need.
But it's also an oxymoron if he said undocumented citizens. That's not a thing. If you're a citizen, you have documents.
Well, I'm also going to say this. America does allow the most legal immigration of any country, but in order to provide those legal immigrants with proper Medicare, all the other benefits, and integrate them into society, they need to be able to have that money to provide those services. When you're having the most amount of illegal immigrants and the most amount of legal immigrants, it's very hard to provide the services needed for the legal immigrants.
And we just gave the example of Canada and what's happening there.
Okay, let's continue. Oh, I think that's pretty good for this clip, actually.
But yes, it just grinds my gears anytime some young idiot comes out and we should have free this and free that. And it's like, yeah, how are you going to pay for that? Things don't just grow on trees.
Okay, and maybe the last story is a little bit too hot for YouTube as well, so that's going to be the seventh story. Mm-hmm. We got quite a bit of stories on RUMBLE. If you want to go over there now, we'll meet you there in about 3 minutes. I'm going to use the bathroom. You're going to set up the stream. Okay.
The stream is set up, but yes.
Oh, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. If you're watching us on replay, I have a pop culture show every day at noon called Live with the Guy. You have a show in Spanish on Nat and the Guy in Espanol. So
yes, at 8 p.m. Central as well.
Adios. We'll see you over on RUMBLE.
Yes. Goodbye, YouTube. Thank you. Okay. You'll be here while I try to switch over.